Welcome back to On Air B&B Football with Bryce. Today, coming at you with the college football week 9, 12 in 12. Before we get into that, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Please help us reach our goal of this channel where me and Brandon want to get to the stadiums, want to talk to you, the fans, talk to the players, talk to the coaches, have fun tailgating, do all that fun stuff. But with that being said, let's get into the 12 and 12. And at number 12, for the first time, is undefeated Indiana. So there's a few other teams that you could say deserve to be at 12, but I really like what Indiana is doing. I love their coach. I love his Kurt Signac. I don't know how to say his last name, but hey, he's a baller. He's a really good coach. Pittsburgh guy, so always rooting for those guys. But Indiana is doing what they're supposed to be doing. He's created a whole new culture there in Indiana. It's great what he's doing for that football team. They have Washington this week. They just blew out a really good Nebraska team 56-7. If you were waiting for them to maybe make a statement win, that was it right there. That was what you needed against a really good Nebraska team. I don't know. I really like what Indiana's doing. I think they are deserving that 12 spot. They're number 1 in the Big Ten right now. They have Michigan and Ohio State coming up over the next 2 weeks or over the next 3 weeks, so that they'll be really tested there. They got a good Washington team, like I said, coming up this week. But yeah, I love what Indiana's doing. I love their coach. I love their roster. Really experienced football team. Did the most in the transfer portal this past year. I think they have like 26, 27 guys. I can't remember from the transfer portal this past year. Indiana is at 12 for me. I love what they're doing. At 11 is going to stay Iowa State for me. So Iowa State played UCF. Very close game. Came down on the wire. Iowa State kind of won at the last minute. They're inching by. They are kind of inching by. They're on a bye this week, and then after that they come out and play Texas Tech. Should be a good game there. Yeah, Iowa State's a good team. Good solid win for them against UCF. Kind of sliding by. They're just gonna sit at 11 for me because they're still undefeated. Going to 10, Clemson. So Clemson was down early in that Virginia game, had a 10-point deficit to overcome, and they did just that, winning 48-31. They have a very good Louisville team coming up after their bye this week. Clemson just been playing Clemson football. Cade Klubnik's doing what he needs to do. Yeah, a good, a little bit of adversity through the beginning of the game, down 10, did what they needed to do, put up 48 after that. Yeah, I like what Clemson's doing. They're going to stick at 10 for me. 9, LSU. So I thought LSU Arkansas would have been a little bit better of a game than it was, but LSU did what they needed to do at Arkansas. They're playing really good football right now. They're getting hot. They're doing what they need to do, and that's what they need to continue to do when they have probably one of the better games this week. We've had some great games the past 2 weeks. And this is another good one here. It's LSU and Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a team that's right on the brink of getting in the top 12. So I'm looking forward to that game at Kyle Field this week. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere. Texas A&M's trying to get into these playoffs. LSU's trying to maintain what they've been doing, keeping that momentum. And then after this game, they got, I believe, a bye, and then they have that big game against Alabama. But a big game for both those teams, and I'm looking forward to watching that one at Kyle Field. At 8, Notre Dame. So Notre Dame's just been sitting at 8 for me. That's really where they really only can sit. Brandon would disagree because he's a big Notre Dame guy this year, big Irish guy. But yeah, he's going to disagree with the Notre Dame ranking, which I would love to put Notre Dame higher, but there's some teams that are still undefeated or they're still playing better football than them right now, I think. Played at Georgia Tech. They played at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, but still basically at Georgia Tech, the college is right there. But anyway, they would need against a good Georgia Tech team. Georgia Tech is a good team, had a decent record, I think, coming in, but Notre Dame won 31-13. Love what they did there. Have a good Navy team this week. Good top 25 matchup against Notre Dame and Navy. Should be a good game. I'm expecting Riley Leonard and that offense to keep running the football effectively. I think Notre Dame should come out of the game winning, I think, by a pretty good margin against Navy. But yeah, I like Notre Dame at 8 still. Number 7 is going to be Miami. So Miami, Louisville, amazing game. A very high scoring game, 52-45. Louisville had some opportunities at the end. I did come out and say I thought this would be Miami's first loss, and it definitely could have been. But Miami's defense is very concerning. They've let up 30-plus points, three back-to-back weeks against decent offenses. Louisville, I think, is the best offense they faced out of those teams with Virginia Tech and California. But Cam Ward is playing Heisman level football. He's doing what he needs to do. That defense needs to step up a little bit. They do have Florida State this week, which we all know Florida State is not very good, has not even scored 20 points in a game this season. It is at Miami. I'm looking for Florida State to, I'm definitely thinking they're going to win this game against Florida State. And I think they'll continue to stay around 7. I just still think there's better teams than them. And that brings me to 6. So definitely the biggest drop on the list. And you could say it's not fair or whatever, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's going to be Texas. It's going to be Texas losing to Georgia, which I bet everybody watched that game. Georgia, Sark was outcoached by Kirby Smart. The offense wasn't ready for that Georgia defense. The Georgia defense threw a different look after different look at Quinn Ewers. They ended up having a quarterback change, switching to Arch Manning in the first half and then going back to Ewers, which I thought was the correct call, going back to Ewers in the second half, resetting or whatever. But that Texas team, it wasn't ready for that Georgia defense, wasn't ready to. Kirby Smart just completely outcoached Sark, and it was a great defensive-minded head coach against a great offensive-minded head coach, and the defensive-minded head coach won that game. I think if they would play in the SEC championship game, which is me and Brandon's prediction, I think that it could be a different outcome, different outcome of a game, and it could be a lot closer. But Georgia won this game. Texas, has a lot to learn from this game. And it was a crazy game. Beer bottles on the field, reverse calls, all that stuff. But it was a little underwhelming of a game for what it was built up to be, I think. But overall, I think, a lot of teams learn from each other in this game. I think if they would meet in the future, I think it'd be a lot better of a game. At 5 is going to be Tennessee. Big win for Tennessee in Knoxville. That place was going crazy. You could not even hear the whistles on the field or on the TV. You couldn't even hear the whistles when the plays were dead. Big win for them against Bama. I thought Tennessee played actually really, really good football. Dylan Sampson is one of the best backs in college football, of course, behind Genti. But yeah, Tennessee did what they need to do. Nico made some throws that he hasn't the past few weeks. I really loved what they did. They get a bye this week, then they face Kentucky. But overall, that was a very solid offensive display for Tennessee and defensive display for Tennessee, and it's looking like Bama may fall out of these playoffs. We're going to see how the rest of the season goes, of course. But, I like Tennessee at 5 for right now. At 4 is going to be Ohio State, who was on a bye this past week. They come out this week, and they'll face Nebraska, who just like I said earlier, got blown out by Indiana. So Nebraska's going to want to kind of make a statement in Columbus, I'm thinking, come back out of that blowout loss. And then we got the big one, Ohio State and Penn State after that. But, I think it'll be a little bit of test for Ohio State against Nebraska. I don't think it'll be much because, Indiana took care of them. Ohio State should have a pretty easy win against Nebraska. That moves me to 3, which is going to be Penn State. They are still undefeated. We're on a bye this week also, like Ohio State. They come out and they're going to be at Wisconsin this week. It could fall into a little bit of a trap game. Wisconsin is a decent team. I'm hoping Penn State can continue to do what they're doing, have a good win against Wisconsin. And like I said, Ohio State, Penn State next week, which is a huge game, one of the biggest games of the season. But let's go to number 2, which is Georgia. Georgia with a big win over Texas, like I mentioned earlier. Do what they need to do. Kirby out, coaching Sark, all that good stuff, which I mentioned a little bit before with Texas being at 6. They definitely move up to 2. But that brings me to 1, of course, has to be Oregon, who, beat Ohio State a few weeks ago, played Purdue last Friday, did really good against Purdue, shutting them out 35-0. Purdue's not a great team. But Oregon has a huge game against Illinois this week, top 20 matchup. I think it is at Oregon this week, but I think Illinois could give them a little bit of a test this week. Illinois, after that loss against Penn State, they've been rolling. They're playing good football offensively and defensively. I think it should be a good game. Should be a good game. Oregon could pull away from them if everything goes right. Dylan Gabriel's been playing really good the past few weeks. Yeah, I really do like Oregon in this game, but after that, they do have a little bit of a tough schedule. Got some Big Ten play for them after this one with Michigan and Maryland and some other good teams they got to face. But should be the last huge test for Oregon, and then I feel like they'll roll to an undefeated season. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for listening, whether it's on YouTube or Spotify. Please make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. like I said earlier, help me and Brandon get to these stadiums, have fun, tailgate with you guys, throw goalposts in rivers. That's going to be the mantra for the rest of the season. That's what we want to do. We want to get to those games, especially the upsets. Those are the most fun. But I think that's it for today's video. Thank y'all for watching. See y'all later.